So first I'd like to say thank you for having me to talk about Michaela Rising. And also I wanted to say thank you to everybody on this Zoom who's volunteering their time and putting their time and effort into bringing democracy back in their electorates. We all know what a sacrifice it is, and we're grateful to all of you. So it's a lot of work sometimes, and sometimes it feels overwhelming, but thanks to Kathy and Jill and the team, there's also a lot of support, which makes a huge difference. So for me, I'm just going to share screen, a little slideshow. So here it comes. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so Michaela Rising. In our case, Michaela is located on the coast in the northern beaches of Sydney, just next door to Zali's electorate. And it's been a safe Liberal seat for about 60 years or more. We have a great lifestyle here with access to beautiful national parks and waterways and amazing surf beaches. But unfortunately, that has sort of translated into it being a very apathetic electorate. People are either completely disengaged or they're a bit defeatist about it ever being anything other than a safe seat. You know, people don't have the confidence that we can make this, can't imagine making this seat marginal. So in order to do that, we needed a plan. Now I just have to move a few things around so I can navigate. Right. Okay, so we started with thinking about what is the situation in Michaela. In our case, our current MP replaced the high-profile Bronwyn Bishop 2 terms ago. He's one of the so-called moderates. He's largely unknown and he rarely interacts with the community. We know from the kitchen tables conducted by the Voices of Michaela group in our electorate that 9 out of 10 people actually don't know his name. They couldn't tell you his name. And lots of people actually don't even know that they live in Michaela. They can't tell you where the boundaries are or which suburbs are in it. So one of our main goals was to educate people even just about Michaela. So most of all, people found the negativity and the toxicity of traditional politics very off-putting. So if we wanted to bring conversation back and make it okay for people to talk about the benefits of voting independent with their friends and neighbours, we knew that our campaign really had to be positive. And so think about your why when you're doing your campaign. Essentially, I wanted to build something very different, something that was positive, that people would gravitate towards. And Tina, who we've just been introduced to in Warringah, always talks about how much fun they had in Warringah. And we knew that people would be more attracted to our campaign or our movement if it was positive and fun. So hence, Michaela Rising being our name, and you can see on this picture a couple of guys looking at the new dawn of politics in the distance there, and Rising for Change in one of our t-shirts. So we're trying to bring people, give people a vision of a positive future and a different way of doing politics. We deliberately chose that name so that it didn't scream traditional politics. Instead, it reflected the personality and the vibe of our area. And the one thing that we knew for sure was that people were really comfortable and very happy to talk about community. And so for us, community is the focus and politics is the byproduct of that, by using where politics comes in as protecting the community that you're proud of and that you care about. So I recommend that people start sort of by, if you haven't already started, by thinking about what your aims and goals are and how you're going to achieve them. So for us, our aims were to educate, inspire, and empower. And to educate, we had to use the word Michaela, and you can see it on the shirt, in our name. We needed people to start identifying where Michaela is, rather than identifying as just people from the Northern Beaches. There's actually everyone from the Northern Beaches isn't in Michaela. Half of it is Warringah and half of Zali's electorate and half of it is Michaela. So we wanted people to start to understand that and identify with being from Michaela and taking pride in that. So that's where we kind of wanted to inspire people, because when you take pride in your community and in your area, then you actually start to think that you really do want to be represented by someone who you can be proud of, someone who can give you that authentic voice in Canberra. And it encourages people to really raise the bar and think outside of the square of traditional party politics. So lastly, our other goal was to, or our aim was to empower. So our movement, we see our movement as a vehicle for empowering people to go from being disengaged to feeling confident to have conversations with friends and neighbours about independence and the power of independence, and confident to vote independent, possibly for the first time ever in the next election. So our goal is, of course, to build the tribe. And you've probably heard Mark Kelly talking about this. that our goal is to build a groundswell within the community big enough for a candidate to step into. We'll ultimately need a dedicated army of volunteers to help us. Our MP won by 56% of the vote last time, so we really do need a lot of votes. So that's our goal, is to start to convert those people early, well ahead of an election. So how to do this can be really overwhelming. When I started, I think my main goal was really just to build a database of 200 people by the time of the next election. And so far, we've got over 250 people walking around in the community in our t-shirts. We've got 550 subscribers on the website and the database, 750 locals having a conversation in our private Facebook page, and over 1,000 people on Instagram. To put that in perspective, our local MP is lucky to get 30 people in a room when he hosts events. So we're feeling pretty confident. Our events have been subscribed by about 200 people, have registered for all of our events this year. And I think it's really good to set goals when you host events, so that you can sort of measure your success and pat yourself on the back. Whenever we hosted a Zoom, we hoped to get, we really hoped we'd get 50 people. So when we got 200 people, we were just so stoked, we couldn't believe it. But the how is really about execution and thinking about how many resources you really have and how much time you can put into it realistically. In my case, I'd been involved in the Voices of Michaela movement, and everyone I knew was giving their time to voices and running kitchen table conversations and doing an amazing job there. So I was on my own. So I had to start small rather than not starting at all. So I started with the brand. So this was our approach, was to create a brand that people could really want to be a part of. Whoops. We made as I said, we made the decision already to be positive and have Michaela in the name, and we had our goals. I was lucky enough to carve out some time with 2 creative women in the community who had great ideas and great creativity, but they both work full time, so they were pretty time poor. One was a fashion designer, and she was really helpful in edging me towards out of my own comfort zone and towards coming up with a logo that had different colors and different branding that I probably would have gone for. It's something a little bit, as you can see from our logo here, it's a bit more retro and a bit beachy. Yes, and so it doesn't look like a traditional campaign, and that was deliberate to sort of tap into the fun, positivity and beachy vibe. So that people could sort of, when they look at it from the beginning, they see that participating in democracy doesn't have to be combative or dry. It actually can be really fun and empowering. These women also had a friend who was an artist, and they asked this friend to help us to design the logo based on our scribbles and hand drawings of the sunshine and various things. And so she came up with this logo. And the reason I'm sharing that story is to say that when you look around your community for creatives, even if they can't spend a lot of time volunteering, they might be able to share some ideas or pass you on to other contacts, and between you, you get there in the end. It takes a village. So the alternative to that, if you're looking at creating a brand and a logo that's a little bit different, you can go on Airtasker, and there are hundreds of creative young people or creative people of all ages happy to design logos for about $50. So part of creating a brand is also choosing some signature fonts, and these are our fonts. On the left here, we have a sort of heading font, and then we have a cursive font. Sorry, I've lost my place. We also use Canva quite a lot, which is a great tool these days. So there's lots of great apps and things that can make things look really polished and professional, even if it's very grassroots. Having said that, I was still on my own. So I had to also think about choosing the right mediums, things that I could really manage and keep on top of. So for us, I started with Facebook, and you can always add more things as you go along. I think it's really good to just start. Getting started is the hardest part. So if you start on Facebook or start on Instagram or start with a website, just get going and get started. At the time, our Facebook page was pretty simple. We didn't have fancy fonts and fancy logos or anything at the time. So we just used a photo of a sunrise. And we've been able to change that over time and make it more brandy for us. And so I followed the model of Mark Kelly's Vote Tony Out, in that I was really just planning to sell t-shirts and have a private Facebook group. And by the way, I'm one of those weird people who actually have never been on social media in my life. I'd never had an account. I didn't know how to work social media. So the biggest learning curve for me was actually just going on Facebook for the first time. So that was a huge leap into the unknown for me. And I followed Mark's lead of having a private group, because what we really needed was to have people that actually are local in our community having the conversation, and not hundreds of people from all around the country or all around the world. And actually the hardest part of that for me was starting in Facebook, because in Facebook you can only actually start if you already have friends. And I had no friends because I'd never been on Facebook. So it was quite challenging, but I got there in the end. So I managed to just recruit a few people that I actually know, humans in my life, and then they could start sort of networking out from there. So when I started the page, I said that we didn't have a logo or anything, so it was pretty plain. But our posts were always positive, even if we were sharing some pretty grim news from the newspaper. We would always sort of frame it in the language that made sense for us, finding solutions to the problem, empowering, inspiring, and engaging people. I knew I could manage the private page, and had a couple of other people offer to help with the admin role. And all the other things here, the shop, the t-shirt, Instagram, website, all of those things came with time. So you don't have to do everything all at once. So this is just on the right-hand side of this page is an example of what our website looks like now, but we didn't even have a website at the beginning for the first several months. And so then we created the shop. That was a big learning curve for my husband and I as well. I had to recruit my family to be in the photographs and learn how to run a retail business. And there was a bit of a financial investment with that as well, because of course we had to buy the initial merchandise. We could only manage to start with a few t-shirts, jumpers, and tote bags. And then down the track, we made a bit of enough money back that we could start doing stickers. And it's really nice to see the stickers on bumper stickers on cars going past all the time, all over signs, all over the neighborhood, all over the area. It really gives you a little boost when you drive past one. Right. And so I'd also say think about storage if you are doing merchandise and creative things like the t-shirts and everything, because you're going to have to put them somewhere. And our boxes live in our tiny weeny, we don't have a garage, so they live in our lounge room, and the kids have to climb around them and jump over them. Yes. So in the beginning, our shop was sort of all we had online. So people started complaining and saying that they wanted a more kind of comprehensive website. But I really didn't have capacity for that. But luckily, a couple of people came along. Rebecca, if you're on this call, thank you, and offered to help with that and help design a much more comprehensive website. So that was fantastic. We were able to put a lot more detail in and a lot of interactive features, like our riser photos. And sorry, I think I'm meant to be on the next slide. So we have photos of our risers, our people out and about in their t-shirts around town. We have our stock. We have a lot of forms, which I think has really been amazing. I've been really surprised how many people come in and fill out. We have a form saying, what do you care about most? Like what are your biggest issues? And people have been putting that in. And then we're about to create a word cloud of all of the things that they've come up with. And obviously we have a volunteer form and subscriber form and that sort of thing. But the branding is, you'll see across the whole website and all of our socials. We talked about Facebook already, but I also had a lot of people at some stage that were saying, you should be on Instagram. And I really didn't have capacity for that either, and got lucky where another friend put up her hand. She felt like the movement was fun, and she loved wearing her t-shirt when she'd go to the dog park and everything in her t-shirt. People would get really excited and have conversations. So she was prepared to get a lot more involved. She's got a background in graphic design, but we do use Canva, which, as I said before, which is really easy. You know, once you kind of play around with it, it's a good way to look like a graphic designer. So we've created a lot of these standard tiles. So as you can see, they have our logo and our branding, and we use them across all of our socials.
Anyo, I think your paper might be scraping across your microphone.
Oh, sorry.
That's a bit better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's good.
Thanks for letting me know.
No worries.
And so with Instagram, and particularly Instagram, but also Facebook, we're all working mums. Most of us have jobs, and we're trying to volunteer our time every other minute of the day. So we schedule a lot of our posts through Asana, which is a great tool to use as well. And there are lots of other tools, but I do recommend having scheduled posts, because it just means that on the days where life takes over, your followers have something to look at So what we do is we have, using our goals, educate, we have a Politics 101 every Tuesday. So this is a standard tile that comes out every Tuesday, and it might have things like, what is pork barreling, or what's a party whip, or what's the crossbench, and what is gagging, those types of things. And fairly soon people actually started writing to us and telling us that they really look forward to their 101s every Tuesday. And it was a great conversation starter for people. I have it all the time. Actually, just today, my daughter even said, oh, I've just learned about gagging at school, like when she saw the post. So that's been a good one. And then another tile that we have regularly is to inspire people. We post slogans, and then we've been able to post quotes from beautiful Helen Haynes and wonderful people that have been on our panel at our events. And we post them every Thursday, and they're a bit of fun as well. Another tile that we have, well, this just gives an example of our ad hoc posts. So if you look on the right hand side, you can see that's what our Instagram looks like. It's really branded. It's very much, you know, you're in Michaela Rising, people are having fun. We use it for news, events, selfies, and actions. And so we try to have fun with it as well. We don't always have serious things. This was a person during lockdown had hung out their shirt to dry in their window, and somebody grabbed a photo of it. Another one, someone else was drying their shirts on the line, and they sent us this. They'd had a busy day running around in their shirts in the community, and here's one on a local dog as well. They're very popular in our local dog park, actually, the t-shirts. Okay, and so advertising and posters. So once you've established that brand and you've got that creative sort of feel and that happy vibe, you can use that across so many different things. So in our case, we've used it for our posters, for our events, news, and those types of things. We also had a lovely lady, again, these things come over time. We had a lovely lady contact us and said, look, I'm a little bit older and I don't really use technology that much, and a lot of my friends don't know about you yet. And I feel like they would really benefit if you would put an ad in our local magazine that goes around the community. And so she offered to pay for that, and we were able to do our first little print ad using our branding. And then events. So one of the things that I suppose the ways that we bring creativity in is our events. So as you can see at the top there, our very first event, we didn't have any t-shirts yet. We didn't have any logos yet. We had nothing. We were just starting out. So we invited a bunch of people we organized for somebody in the community who was happy to have us in their garden. And we put a bunch of bean bags out and tried to make it a bit fun. And we organized for a local teenager from the local high school, to come and play her instrument as people arrived. So that was nice to have music and young people reminding us that, you know, we're really doing this for their future. And then we just put out a cheese platter and some wine. We tend to host our events between sort of 3 and 5 on a weekend, so people can fit it in between their sports and activities and their dinners and things that they have on in their lives. We feel like that really works for us. So the second one, another one that we hosted, was in the home of a beautiful local artist, and it drew a lot of different type of people there because a lot of people really had that opportunity to see the beautiful artworks that this well-known artist had on his walls. And that might have drawn them to the house in the first place, but once they were there, we had them and we could tell them all about Michaela Rising and our movement. So I really recommend reaching out to people in the community, seeing who might be happy to host a gathering in their house, and bring artists in, bring music in. At all of our events, we always find somebody to play music, play an instrument, that sort of thing. Back then, we were also able to organize democracy talks, but then we went into lockdown, of course, and as you can see at the bottom, we've been hosting Zoom town hall events ever since, and we save these recordings onto our website in the events page so people can rewatch them, which is a really handy tool. It also helps to not repeat everything, because the first one, especially for people that are new to the movement, we always direct them to that video because it tells them all about Michaela Rising, why we started, about independence, the power of independence. Okay, so lean on local creative artists in your community, including ideas for events. And as the movement grows, you have more people that just sort of turn up and come and want to be part of it. I recommend leaning on kids for their beautiful art and their music, And also we've had some cartoonists show up now. We've had a poet who's been now posting her poems in our Facebook page. And a couple of weeks ago, somebody put together that little video that we were trying to show at the beginning when we all got together for a little protest. And that was really lovely. And most recently, we've been blessed with this lady here, local singer-songwriter Sally Seltman, writing us our own song. Our next adventure is finding people in the community to help make a video, an official video clip for that song. So we're going to be reaching out, trying to find a cameraman and an editor and all the different types of people you need to make a film clip. And inviting our members to come and be extras in the video. So that'll be fun for us, I think. And it's another creative endeavor that we've never tried before. So we started off small, but now we feel like we're really gaining momentum. So my final slide is still pretty amazing to me, to think that we started with a goal of building a list of 200 people. And now, like in this photo, we had over 100 people turn up for a quick photo the other day. And there are over 1,000 people following us in our Instagram as this tile celebrates. We did most of this during a lockdown, multiple lockdowns. So we expect to grow exponentially now that people can actually go out and get together at barbecues and go out and about and feel the vibe of being in the room with 100 other people in the same t-shirt. So once you start, I think you'll find that there's a real appetite in the community for leadership and for a viable alternative to what the major parties are offering. So build your tribe and get creative, and don't forget to take a moment to celebrate the wins, however big or small. I did take a video of Sally performing the song just recently. And so I was going to ask Jill to end with our beautiful Michaela Rising song. It's got a real folky sort of vibe to it. It's reminiscent of a Dylan sort of 60s protest song. We asked Sally to write something simple that people could really easily sing along with at events, and she really nailed it. I think the lyrics will really resonate with everybody on the call in all the different electorates, and I encourage you all to download it as well. You can find the link on our socials if you do want to download it and have a listen later on. So thank you all for listening.